tonight at 11.
The following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Last race, Will Power continued his road course dominance and took the win in scenic Watkins Glen. Today, we're in Toronto, Ontario, where the roads have been transformed into IndyCar's version of a superhighway. Canada's open-wheel history started back in 1967, and since 1986, the streets of Toronto have been graced by all the big names in the sport. Today's top drivers have crossed the border, where hockey's king, to do a little checking of their own. And we welcome you to scenic Toronto, Ontario, Canada for race number 10 of the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series. It is an absolute picture-perfect day. The CN Tower and downtown off in the distance. And that is the scene here trackside. That's the front straightaway on this 1.75-mile layout. A lot of the big names of the sport, in fact, all the key players, including Paul Tracy. He is a hometown hero. Grew up in Scarborough, just a little bit northeast of downtown Toronto. Danica Patrick didn't grow up in Canada, but she'd like to take home the trophy. 3 top 10s in her last 4 races, including a second at Texas. Justin Wilson, he's going to start from pole today. We'll be talking more about him in just a matter of a few moments. And Elio Castroneves found out last year what happens when you take out the hometown hero at his home track. Dario Franchitti, along with Tracy, one of those 2-time Toronto winners. In fact, he won this event last year. The green flag waves, and this race is green.
Dario Franchitti on pole for the 3rd time in his last 5 races.
Paul Tracy now finds himself moving up through the field.
If there's anybody that knows how to get around Toronto, it's Paul Tracy.
Dario Franchitti now leads in Toronto.
Here goes Tracy trying to dive bomb the corner. Does he make it? Oh, they stuff each other.
Started on pole. He will win for the 2nd time on the streets of Toronto.
Well, Dario Franchitti is a 2-time winner here, but today he's going to have to put those skills to work. After the final practice, you guys made an engine change. Why?
We just weren't happy with the performance in a straight line. We had the car trimmed out, actually more than Scott's, but we were still slower than him in a straight line. So the management and the team decided, okay, we're gonna have to change the engine, see if that's the problem. We've tried everything else, so I think the Airwick car is very good around the twisty parts. So hopefully we can get it working in the straight line now too.
Well, nobody has won this race from outside the top 13. What is your plan to get to the front early?
Well, we're starting 5th still. We don't start at the back, so we're quite relaxed about that. I think the competition up front is very quick. Justin in particular, obviously Will's good. There's a couple of guys behind as well, be pressuring us, but it's going to be fast, stay up front all day, make no mistakes, and see what we got.
All right, one of Dario's biggest competitors on a road course, Will Power, showed just how good he is a race ago.
Will Power going to get a good jump as the green flag waves. The Power stormed to the front from pole position as he outdueled his Team Penske teammates.
Will Power, does he break the jinx and become the first pole sitter to win?
They have never won here. Team Penske has been on pole every year. They come up empty. Power's going to dive to the inside.
He's retaken the lead.
Power just absolutely made it look easy.
The jinx is over for Team Penske. They win.
Will Power indeed coming off that victory at Watkins Glen. 5 road course, street course races this season, and you've won 3 of them. But what's unique about Toronto and its challenges?
You know, I think the tough thing about this track is that you've got a lot of bumps and different track surface, so it makes for great racing. I mean, you got that long straight into turn 3. The key is to stay out of trouble, watch the first lap, and you know, the field windows are wide open, so I think it's going to be a very mixed up race.
So many people have been talking about Justin Wilson and the impressive weekend he has had. Is he the guy you feel like you need to beat today?
I mean, yeah, he's an exceptional driver. It's no surprise he's on the pole. You know, if the win's there to be taken, of course, but you know, we've got to be really aware of the guys that I'm racing in the championship, and you know, I've got to continually finish ahead of them.
3 of the top 5 in the standings are Penske drivers. How would you describe the competition amongst the 3 of you? Of course, Ryan Briscoe and Elio Castroneves.
It's friendly competition, you know. We always race each other really clean and fair. Yeah, but at the end of the day, they are another competitor, and you know, 3 different teams once we get on the racetrack. So I'd love to be ahead.
that was very politically correct. Well done. Will Power, he's starting up front today next to Justin Wilson. Marty.
All right, thank you, Vince. Let's take a look at our IZOD IndyCar Series standings through 9 of 17 races. And courtesy of those 3 wins, you see Will Power has a 32-point margin over Dario Franchitti. And then on down through the top 5. And take a look at the man in 8th position. Long way out. They're not going to be a contender probably for the championship. But, boy, I'll tell you what, he has had one heck of a weekend for Dreyer Reinbold Racing. Take a look at what happened yesterday in pole qualifying. In knockout shootout, I mean, this guy was strong all weekend long. Just a tick over 1 minute at 104.8 miles an hour. His first pole in the IZOD IndyCar Series, his 8th in the career, and he snaps the streak of 8 straight poles by Team Penske. He's Scott Goodyear. I'm Marty Reed, and we're so glad that you're with us here. Let's also talk about one other thing. In the last 3 years, there's been 43 races. All those races have been won by Penske, Ganassi, or Andretti Racing, except for 4. Justin Wilson's played a role in that.
And that's the amazing thing here, because this series is so competitive. But for Justin Wilson, who's done this with 2 different teams, it just goes to prove how strong he is, not only as a driver, but also technically. And that's what the teams tell us, that he has an understanding for the race car. And this track here at Toronto, Marty, is very technical, and I think that's why we've seen him here on the pole by a few tenths of a second, which is really unheard of with as competitive as this series is right now.
Well, it's not often that we get to break news here in the series, but you saw that interview with Dario Franchitti, and Race Control and just informed us they were not aware that they changed an engine. They are reviewing whether or not he's going to have to go to the rear and start there, or will he keep his number 5 starting position. What do you think?
Well, I think for the excitement of the day for the race, I put him to the back. Let him see how he can come through. I mean, obviously a great driver. He doesn't want to start back there, but I think it'd be great for our telecast and our fans today.
Spoken from the guy who doesn't have to do the job.
Don't have
just
to do
wants
it anymore.
to watch it. Yeah. Let's talk about the guys who have come through the field here and won at the streets of Toronto. Of course, as you heard already, Bobby Rahal won the inaugural race back in 1986. And then from there, Al Unser Jr. won 2 of the next 4 races here at Toronto. And Michael Andretti, he was king of the mountain, 5 consecutive, 7 overall here in the streets of Toronto, Ontario. And Paul Tracy, the hometown hero, 2-time winner, 1993 and 2003. He is the hometown hero. Rick?
Well, every time Paul Tracy's in a race, the expectations are high. After all, 20 years of experience, 31 victories, but it's very difficult to do that when you're moving from team to team. How difficult is it to make that transition, working one team one weekend, another team another?
Well, you know, obviously this weekend hasn't gone exactly how we've wanted it to go from start so far to this point, but the race is a different story. You know, last weekend we had a good race with Dreyer and Reinbold, and they did a real nice, tidy job. You know, for the whole team at KV this weekend, it's been a struggle. We've struggled with lack of grip, so we've got our work cut out for us today. But with all these signatures I have for Make-A-Wish, we've got the wings of the people on me, so hopefully that'll give us a boost.
All right, you're starting in the back of the pack. Jimmy Vasser yesterday suggested, why not just start in pit lane to avoid all the trouble that may happen in front?
Yeah. Well, I said, did you ever do that in your career? And he said no. I said, well, I'm not going to start either, so in the pit lane. So, you know, we're going to just see what happens. The first lap is always a bit chaotic here. There's always somebody that gets into something, but, you know, we'll just try to pick our way through.
All right. Paul Tracy trying to hang on. Guy with not quite as much experience, but a little more speed up front is with our own Vince Welch, Marco Andretti.
Part of that 4-car Andretti Autosport team. Marco Andretti been very pleased with his race car, particularly in that final practice. But first, let's talk a little bit of history here. Your dad had great success here, won 7 times on the streets of Toronto. How much does that play into your mind as you come into an event like this?
Oh, a lot. You know, I think, you know, for my second win in my career, this would be the place. If it's not Indianapolis, you know, this place, like you said, has been very special to our family. Dad in particular, you know, winning 7 times is almost unheard of, you know. So it was, you know, I was there for a lot of them, too, so it's been special to us.
How about your race car for today? How much do you think you're going to be in the mix with the car you have?
Well, I mean, obviously it's one thing to say, another to back it up. You know, I'm not one to just say it, but I feel pretty confident going into the race. I think overnight we made a lot of good changes. You know, we were struggling yesterday for sure. You know, I was actually happy to end up 10th with what I was dealing with. So,